guys, and welcome back to Curt and Paul Discuss. I'm Curt.
I'm Paul.
And today we're going to discuss Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I really enjoyed this one, man. I'm not going to lie
I
to
loved
you.
it.
They stepped up, to me, they stepped up their game from the last Jurassic World. The last one just seemed very generic and commercialized. And this one, look, it was some good writing. It was good acting and classic Steven Spielberg, man. Classic Steven Spielberg. Going back to animatronics, going back to the great sound scores he does. I was really pleased. What did you think about it?
I mean, we did have a discussion about this, and I did not want to see this movie.
Right.
I told somebody, I had a friend of mine asked me if I had seen the first trailer when it came out. I was like, yeah. So he said, so what do you think? It's going to be good, right? Right. I was like, no. I said, you know that whole saying about shame me once and whatever, how George Bush butchered it.
Right.
Shame me twice. What is it? Anyway, I don't know it either.
Yeah.
But you know that old saying about fool me once, shame on you. And I was like, they're not going to fool me this time because the last movie had a great trailer.
Yeah, and that's usually, in a lot of these movies, I've noticed that. In movies that aren't really, really great, the trailers are usually awesome.
Because they show every single shot that they got right, they're going to show it in the trailer, and then you're gonna get to the movie, and you've already been shown everything good.
Right, that was like I think it was called 1517 to Paris, Clint Eastwood's last movie. Mm-hmm. Like I said on that one, if you saw the trailer, you saw the entire movie, because that was the best part of it.
Yeah.
So, but luckily. And I was a little skeptical going into this one too, because I was like, it's a big franchise, big budget. Sometimes they don't feel like they have to work as hard.
Right.
When you got big names, big actors, So and they fall back on like Chris Pratt's ability to be a comedic actor, and I'm telling you, his character in this one was more action star than it was comedy relief.
He had the whole Indiana Jones knocking guys out with one punch type thing going.
Yeah. I noticed that too. I was like, look at him tearing through those people.
Right. I was like, wow. But the director makes a difference, and this is a perfect example because they went from Colin Trevorrow or whatever his name is to J.A. Bayona, I think is his name. I've never heard of this director before, and I looked him up, and he's a Spanish director, and I think he's best known for a movie called The Orphanage. That's how he got.
That was a good movie, The Orphanage. I saw that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I didn't realize he was the director of it.
Yeah, he directed The Orphanage in another movie. I've actually seen half of one of his other movies. It's called The Impossible. Mm-hmm. It's that movie about the tsunami.
Was it in multiple parts?
I don't know. My wife was watching it one day, and I kind of just came in and sat down and watched. It had Ewan McGregor in it.
Yes, that's the one that was in multiple parts.
Oh,
it was
okay.
like a 3-part miniseries type thing.
It was a miniseries.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was very good though. It was very very good. It was very believable.
Excuse me.
For the shots of actual when the tsunami came in, it was very well done.
Well, Colin Trevorrow was actually, he's the producer on all these new Jurassic Park movies. He's the one that I guess he went to Amblin Entertainment and did like a pitch for this new trilogy.
Right.
And he directed the first one. He chose this director specifically because he did The Orphanage, which is a horror movie.
Right.
And he wanted to bring some horror elements.
I'm telling you, it worked.
And from what I read, J.A. Bayona, whatever his name is, Yona. He
We'll
signed
just
on.
call him Jay from this point on.
Okay. Jay signed on to this project because there was a haunted house aspect to the third act
Right.
that he liked.
Yeah.
So he signed on, and here we are, and it made a ton of difference.
Yeah, and I guess we can go ahead and
Well,
move into spoilers, because the next point I want to make is kind of going to spoil it for some people. Or you have anything to add before we go into spoilers?
no, let me put up the warning. So if you haven't seen it,
Leave now or forever hold your peace.
There's your spoiler warning. We don't be getting into specifics. I think. Did you notice one of the first things I noticed about it is it went into a lot of some of the beats we're used to. I think a lot of these beats have been followed by some of the sequels, but you have the opening scene where a worker's killed.
Yeah, those poor guys in Steven Spielberg films. Those first ones they show are usually going to die within the next minute.
Like
or so.
there's that. It opens with this sub. They're going into the
bay. The bay of Jurassic World, or whatever the island is.
They want to recover the tooth of the Dominus Rex that got killed by the Monosaurus, and the pilot is like driving the little sub, and they open the gate to this area, and his co-pilot or whoever looks over to. He says, "Hey, relax. I'm sure whatever's in here is dead by now.
Long dead."
And when he says that, I was thinking to myself, these two are dead.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
These two guys are dead.
And the way I like
dead as a doornail, man.
And the way that I like the way that the director handled that was he never showed you really what was there. It was just like the shots of something big when the lightning flashed or something, was swimming back there behind them. Right. And so it increased that level of anticipation and drama that was about to happen. Right. And then, of course, the T-Rex is going to show up because,
Right. Because the T-Rex is the true hero of these films.
Absolutely. They've almost made a couple of the dinosaur characters. No, not almost. They've made a couple of the dinosaurs stars of the movie. Right. Specifically, Blue. Mm-hmm. I mean, actually becomes a supporting cast member of this film. But the T-Rex in the beginning shows up, and you think, well, this guy's done. Right. And it was the way they did that was just.
They made it seem like he might make it. Well, maybe we shouldn't spoil that. But there was a lot of tension. That this director ratcheted it up, the tension. I loved it, and there was a lot of show. There wasn't too much show. You know how there's a tendency with these movies to show everything, but they went with Spielberg's kind of direction and the way he hints at something. You see the trees moving behind the building.
Classic Spielberg action.
Right. You don't see the dinosaur, you hear the dinosaur first.
Right.
That kind of thing. They did a lot of that, and I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it worked for him. And I don't care. You can put whatever music you want to in a movie. Mm-hmm. But those orchestra pieces that they use in especially these types of movies, like Indiana Jones and the Jurassic series of movies, you can't find anything better to do these movies with, because they just build the drama, they build the anticipation, and I just think it works so well for these types of movies. And it felt like a good old-fashioned Spielberg movie,
Well, right after this, they go into that beat where, okay, we killed some workers, now we got to convince the people from the last movie to come back to the island for some weird reason. It's like, why do these people always, they're going to go back. But
and then they also convinced the old actors to come back, or the original actors to come back, and the new ones, they introduced the new ones that are going to play prominent roles.
Right.
And I liked the casting was really good in this movie as well, because I think at first I wasn't real sure about the computer nerd guy. Because at first he was super timid and being pushed around.
Right.
And but he came through in the clutch.
Yeah, the guy's name I had a problem with. He was kind of annoying.
Yeah, that's what I was
at first. And he was doing the typical nerd. Oh my God, what am I doing here?
Yeah, like all nerds are not scared of everything.
He's wearing glasses. He has a little mini afro.
Yeah.
His name was Franklin, which kind of threw me because isn't the guy in Grand Theft Auto 5 named Franklin?
Yeah, he is.
I kept thinking.
I wonder if that's a shout out to Grand Theft Auto.
I don't know if they did that intentionally, but I kept thinking of that the guy in Grand Theft Auto. I was like, this is not Franklin.
No, far from that Franklin.
These two characters are totally different.
But they I want to make this point because everybody knows one of the biggest draws to these Jurassic World movies is that man right there, Chris Pratt. I mean, and you either love him or you hate him, but most people love him. And he's funny. He's over the top. I mean, I've been watching him since Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
He was, I forget what his character's name was in that. But he was super funny in that. Mm-hmm. But he was kind of heavy back then.
Kind of heavy.
I can't speak, so
Okay.
in reference to myself, he was kind of heavy. But then he starts getting these mainstream movies, and he turns into this stud dude that
Right.
and he becomes an A-list celebrity overnight. It seems like, and he's fantastic.
He was in that Delivery Man movie. Did you see him in that?
No, I haven't
He
seen
played.
that.
He played Vince Vaughn's really big, huge married best friend. He was really overweight. In that
I'll have to
movie.
check that one out.
If you would have told me that guy in Delivery Man was going to be
The lead in Jurassic.
A-list movie star one day, I was like, "You get out!"
He was
going
to like headline Marvel movies
because he's in this, and he was in that movie, and he has kids, and he was like as a counterpoint to Vince Vaughn's character, who has all these kids through a fertility clinic. That's what the whole premise of the movie is.
I remember that.
And
movie.
he's trying to come to terms with having all these kids, and like his kid is like beating him on the face with a ball or something. He's like, "You really want?" I forget what he says, but he says something funny about being a father. You really want to do this? It's kind of the whole gist of that. But I would have never thought that guy
would turn it around.
Yeah, I mean,
and stand on top of the mountain basically.
Because he got Guardians of the Galaxy, and then he got this trilogy just like that, just by losing 60 pounds.
Well,
and bulking up.
And he bulked up. He's a good-looking dude, and he's funny. And that combination does well in Hollywood.
Right. Especially
Especially when you have that success story of, here's this kind of overweight actor that was funny, but look at him now. Check him out,
Well, they made fun of him in Infinity War for gaining some of his weight back. Remember that scene with Thor?
Well, there's so much in there, but I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Well, but one thing I wanted to say about him in this movie, particularly in this movie, is how he's funny and he's a good actor and all that, but sometimes I feel he's a little over the top, especially his Guardians of the Galaxy character is over the top, just one-liners after one-liners, and just like he don't take anything serious, and and that can become annoying at a point,
Right.
And I think that some of the Marvel movies are leaning a little more to comic relief lately, and they need They need to reel that back in my opinion.
Yeah, Ragnarok was.
It was just a freaking. It was. Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, we didn't review that one, but we would have probably
it was
destroyed
a good movie.
it.
I mean,
well, yeah,
but it was you couldn't take it seriously.
Well, like you and I had discussed before, I'm easily entertained. So I can find joy in watching paint dry probably. Right. I can find some entertainment value in just about anything.
You're Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Smith likes everything.
Yeah, and I guess that's the role I play. I'm the Kevin Smith of this little doodad here. But that Ragnarok, it was okay, but that it was by far not the best Thor movie. Getting back to this though, this director.
We haven't been given ratings though.
I know, and we apologize for that. We said we were going to do it, I think, in the first episode, and we haven't done it yet. But we'll remember to do it this time. But let me make my point about what this director did with Chris Pratt. Is he subdued him? He took this bigger than life character that he is. This big, huge personality, and he kind of contained him to where he could show his acting and action chops more than his comedy ability. And it worked really, really well. And I see him expanding his roles a little more after this movie now because of that. I see him going into maybe a little more serious acting moving forward. Maybe he can take Liam Neeson's place in Taken, doing that more dramatic action star stuff.
Right. I don't know if I can see him as the Taken guy. I don't know. But his acting did, I think he did kind of improve. He was kind of boring in the last movie. Because
his heart wasn't in it, I don't think.
I didn't know him that well before seeing that movie. I had just seen him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was expecting, okay, he's going to bring that. And he didn't bring that. Because it's kind of like somebody like Ryan Reynolds has that star persona thing in every movie that they do, and has that same comedic timing in every movie they do, no matter what role they play. And he didn't really bring that. The last one.
Ryan Reynolds is just like that in real life. If you see him do any interviews, man, he's like bam, bam, bam. Just his timing and his comebacks and.
Well, I'm sure he is too. I mean, he is a comedian, right?
Yeah, and he just won a Generation Award on MTV, MTV Movie Awards, and he won the Generation Award, which is, I guess, kind of like the lifetime achievement of MTV, and He did I think it was 9 pointers that he could give to the next generation, and you'll have to go watch that yourself because and a lot of them were serious, but then he put one in there that when you go poop and you're at a party, you gotta here's how you do it so the guests don't smell it. It's like this huge nugget of knowledge and wisdom for the next generation.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you think? I thought Bryce Dallas Howard. I think all the actors that were in the last movie did a lot better than this. Bryce Dallas Howard, I felt like compared to the almost what's the word to describe her character in the last movie?
Helpless.
Just the timid, helpless damsel in distress. Yeah. She was very assertive in this version.
When they were running down the hill from the volcano exploding, she was getting it, man. I was like, I wonder if the camera will even really show her running wide out, because most people can't run wide out and look good doing it. I mean, it's just the fact of life.
Well, did you notice in the very first shot of her in this movie, they start on her shoes?
Yeah.
And they kind of tilt up, but they focus. She's wearing heels in the very first shot, but then I guess they're kind of making a kind of a wink at the last movie. But then she's wearing boots.
Yeah,
they focus on her shoes.
She learned the last time not to be on that island in heels.
Well, I don't know, but I don't know if she learned that. The directors learned that.
Well,
they shouldn't have
her her
But
character.
she's wearing. They focus on her shoes at least 2 more times after that.
They must have got ripped in the last one.
They did. I mean, that whole scene.
I
with
didn't
her,
read any of the critiques on it, but
no, they ripped her for running in heels from the T-Rex near the end of the last movie.
yeah, if I'd have noticed that, I'd have ripped it too.
A lot of people were. They just trashed the movie because of that. I'm surprised it's done so well. I thought maybe there'd be some backlash, but it's already done $700 million.
Wow.
And it's been out, 3 days?
And
2 days, because today we're filming Sunday.
I went to see
and
it
opened on Friday, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, Friday. Friday was the release date. Some theaters had a late showing on Thursday, but yeah.
That's her.
Now you told me that last time we were talking about her. Who is her dad?
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. Okay, I was trying to think of who you told me her dad was, but okay. But she's earned her right to be on the screen. I mean, she did a good job. They have great chemistry. Her and Chris Pratt have great chemistry on screen. And I think they did an excellent job, man. All the naysayers are going to have to eat their words because they were all like, oh, it's going to be terrible. They're going to run this into the ground like they're doing Star Wars and, you know.
Well, did you have any criticisms?
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're going to get down to it, because we do this now, okay, I look at these films more in a critical way now. And one of the biggest criticisms I have is the way it ended. And if you want me to wait to get to that point, or do you want to discuss it now?
You can discuss it now.
Okay, so at the end of the day, the little girl who is the granddaughter of the man who was trying to save the dinosaurs.
Well, let's set that up because they kind of retconned the history of the whole Engine, which is the corporation that started cloning the dinosaurs, which was headed by John Hammond from the first movie.
Right.
They threw in this character we haven't heard about before. His name is Lockwood.
Right. Lockwood was
Benjamin Lockwood. He was a partner of John Hammond.
Right.
And they supposedly started Engine together.
Yeah, and he was the one that he's the one that pioneered the methods of extracting the DNA, and he played a major role in extracting the DNA from the mosquito that's in the little cane that he has. And he ends up with the cane. This character ends up with John Hammond's cane from the last one after he died. Or it had to be the same one because there was only the one mosquito, right? They didn't have two canes made with mosquitoes in it? Because didn't they extract in the original Jurassic Park, they extract the original DNA, dinosaur DNA from that mosquito, right?
Well, there was a bunch, I think there was a bunch of insects in amber that they got.
Okay.
You know, that's how they explain how many, they having so many different species.
Okay, well, maybe I missed that little tidbit, but he had a cane just like him.
Right.
And just like the original character.
It might have been the same cane, though.
But his story was that he wanted to, I think, advance the project, because he said something along, I was young and dumb, or young and not thinking of the impact that this would have.
Well, I think Lockwood had a very specific reason for wanting this genetic research done.
You think that
creating
there was
clones?
Yeah.
Because we found out that his daughter has died in a car accident,
and that was where they split up because he had that idea of taking the technology and cloning humans.
He wanted to bring his daughter back. That's a big reveal in the movie.
Yeah, and you realize
that's another thing I liked about the movie. They didn't have a couple of annoying kids to follow around through this movie. It was basically Chris Pratt and Bryce Howard and And
What was the little veterinarian?
her name was Zia.
Zia.
Yeah,
She was a good, strong female character.
good. You hear this all right? This is a very feminist movie, if you want to go that route, because there's two very
very strong female leads.
leads, and she's Mexican. I don't know. They didn't really stress that, but she's a Mexican. But she's a veterinarian.
And she's got grown men scared of her.
Yeah, she was very
grown
good.
men with guns scared of her.
And then they had they had two white leads and a Mexican and a black guy. So there we go.
Well, Hollywood's learning. It's a slow process.
And they were very good, well-developed characters.
They
all
were.
of them.
But like we were saying, setting up that whole thing up to where you're finding out about this other guy and how they split up, and then he's gotten older and wiser, and
well, he has this guy working for him, which I felt was kind of a repeat of, because John Hammond has this lawyer guy in the second movie who's they're trying to trap the animals, right?
Yeah, so they can make their fortune off of them.
And they're doing the same thing in this movie. And it's like, if I was going to be critical or anything, that was kind of a repeat of what they did in the second movie. Oh yeah, we got to go back well, this time they have a time factor because the dormant volcano on this Isla Nublar, whatever it's called, is active. So they really have to get in and save these dinosaurs.
And that was
which is kind of threw me, because it's like, didn't y'all develop these dinosaurs in a lab? Couldn't you
just make them over again?
Just make some more. But then you find out they kind of made it make sense, because they have some flashbacks to when Chris Pratt is training the Velociraptors.
Yeah.
And
the baby
he finds out that Blue is actually very intelligent and can learn. And they have this secret plan. The people that convinced them to go back have a secret plan to use his. I wasn't sure about it. Did they want to use his DNA to develop more?
No, they wanted Blue to interact with the new creation.
The new creation. They have a new dinosaur.
To teach them.
Okay.
Because they said something about these things are, they're bred to need a mother.
Okay.
Like someone to lead them. And so that's why they didn't want to kill Blue. They shot her by accident when they were capturing her.
Right.
And that was one of the big parts of, you better keep her alive, or we're going to shoot you. To the what's her name again? The Hispanic girl,
Zia.
They were told Zia that if the dinosaur dies, then she dies. Because they wanted her alive, so they could take her back and use her to train these super machine that they were going to sell to the military.
Yeah. So they have this whole subplot where they lied to, Chris Pratt's and Bryce's characters and tell them they just want to save them. They just want to save them from extinction. Because I guess her character's name is Claire. Claire is part of a dinosaur protection group.
Right.
And Zia is too. That's how they.
Because Congress and the world governments are trying to decide whether or not they need to let the volcano go ahead and wipe them out again,
right.
or if they should step in and save them. And so, technically, according to what the government decide, is that they were going to let, what they said, the volcano is an act of God, and they were going to let the volcano destroy the dinosaurs. And so technically, these two characters are breaking the law by going there to save the dinosaurs. Right. And in all fairness, what is the name of the old guy? What is his character's name?
His name is Benjamin Lockwood.
Okay, so Benjamin Lockwood, he thinks he's saving these dinosaurs and going and putting them on a new island. He doesn't realize that his flunky or whatever, that guy is that's running his foundation.
Yeah.
The guy who has control of the foundation, he doesn't realize that guy's betraying everybody.
Right.
And so he thinks that they're doing the right thing, and so does his granddaughter. And then she discovers that this guy is up to no good, and she goes and tells her grandfather. And so he's really mad, but he tells her to go on and that he'll handle it. Well, it doesn't end well for him.
Right.
So
there was there were so many shots in this movie that I just love. Like when they're leaving, they finally get off the island, and the brontosaurus comes out on the pier. That really killed me.
Especially when he lifted up on his rear legs in the smoke.
Yeah, and he's being surrounded by ash and lava, and he's just screaming for them to help him, and they can't do anything while they're riding off in the boat.
Man, and that
just tore me to pieces. I never thought I would feel for a dinosaur.
I know, you're
quite
so
like that.
Sad.
Yeah. This director really sold a lot of these scenes. I mean,
and did you know that shot right there was like one of the earliest trailer releases? When you know how social media will start releasing little excerpts, like Facebook and Twitter will start releasing little tiny clips. That one was one of the first ones that they threw out there.
Oh, I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, and so you're like, I noticed that when I saw it, but yeah, that was a really touching scene. One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie was there was a part where Blue was hurt, and they're trying to save Blue's life, but they can't try to get the bullet out until they get a blood transfusion. And they needed blood from a similar species, one that, was a carnivore. And there's only one that they could think of that was on the boat. And it was the T-Rex.
Right.
So Chris Pratt and, what's her name again?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, right.
Her character's name is Claire.
Yeah, and what's his character's name again?
Owen.
So Owen and Claire go to the sedated T-Rex to draw blood, right?
Yeah.
And they got a needle about that long, about that big around, because their skin's so thick. And they're like, he's sleeping. And so Claire jumps up on the T-Rex's back, and Owen is kind of like trapped between the head and the side of the thing. And you can tell when the camera keeps showing close-ups of the eye, that mug's about to wake up.
Yeah.
And so she jabs that needle in as the blood starts flowing, and then its eyes open, and then you're like, oh crap, how's he going to get out of it? Because you know he's going to get out of it. Yeah. But how's he going to do it? And the choreography of that, because that was animatronics. That was not CG. That was actually, puppets.
That's another thing. There was never a moment in this movie where I was thinking, ooh, that's bad CG. That's obviously CG. None of that. I mean, and I think
that volcano was amazing.
Yeah, everything, all the CGI in this movie, I never stopped to think, oh, that's fake. I mean, everything looked real. I mean, there was like maybe one scene where I kind of saw a little bit of the, it was the head-butting dinosaur, for a lack of a better name, because I don't know Stegosaurus or something. I forget what you call them. There was one scene where you could kind of see a little bit of
like the
CGI was showing up. It was kind of like a dithering. I forgot what there's a technical term for it, but you could kind of see it in that scene. But everything else, I heard they use a lot of animatronics and puppets.
Yeah.
So, and
that one scene is like, you're wondering how Chris Pratt's going to get. It's the back of a semi truck where they've got this T-Rex, strapped down, and now it's awake. And how's he going to get out of there? And then at the perfectly timed moment, the T-Rex opens his jaws to,
Yeah.
And he jumps through the mouth
Right.
and out and slams the door. And I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, well, of course, there's that shot of the dinosaur going to the bed, kind of a horror movie. Kind of reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street or something.
I know, those claws.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you could tell somebody who did horror movies was involved in that because they made that freaking dinosaur scary.
Yeah.
And it's the classic entity chasing the child through the old mansion,
Right.
shots. And it was very effective.
Well, I've read a few reviews of the movie, and one of the main complaints was that there wasn't really anything new introduced, any ideas, but they did have that one idea about this new. They have another new dinosaur that they created in the labs called Indoraptor.
Right.
The new idea is that they've programmed this dinosaur to respond to commands and to visual cues and to auditory cues. They basically have a moment where, and it was a throwback to RoboCop, where they're auctioning off all these dinosaurs, and they bring the Indoraptor in, and they have a guy point a laser pointer on one of the people in attendance.
Yeah.
And the raptor locks on that guy, and then they hit a button. The auditory clue tells him to attack. So and it jumps up against the cage, and the guy's like, just a throwback.
They said once it's locked onto a target, it won't stop until the target is destroyed.
It was I felt it was kind of a nod to RoboCop. That scene where they they paint the guy, but then they tell him no another guy has a gun, right? And the robot.
Yeah, the robot that they made to replace RoboCop,
right,
sort of
tells him to drop the gun, and he drops the gun, and Roy's like, "Drop the gun, or I will shoot." And it's like the guy's like, "I dropped the gun." He's running around in circles, and they're trying to figure it, and then he gets shot gruesomely.
And then they're like, "Oh, we'll just have to work on that programming."
So yeah, I thought that was a nice little nod. But like I said, there was a lot of story beats. Like I said, the workers killed, then they have to convince the scientists to go back, and then all hell breaks loose.
And don't forget the one about the diabolical military guy.
Yeah, that they get betrayed, and
some like ex-military guy who's turned to the private sector,
right?
And one of the most evil people who's pulling the teeth of the dinosaurs.
Doesn't Chris Pratt calls him the Great White Hunter?
Yeah.
Who are you, the Great White Hunter, or something like that? Which is kind of funny. But it's played by Ted Levine. The guy's name is. And
I like him. He was on that show Sight.
Yeah.
Sight.
Well, he's known famously as Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot he played that.
Yeah, I always get weirded out because he has kind of like a lisp in his voice that he kind of amped up in that movie, and every time I see him, I kind of get weirded out by his voice.
Feeling, yeah.
Because I hear that little lisp he has, and it's like, ugh.
Well, and another beat, like you were saying, that follows this whole, framework of what they do in these movies is the ex-military guy or whoever the bad guy is usually ends very badly.
Right.
I mean, he usually gets messed up pretty badly. And this was held true to this one, just like in Indiana Jones and every.
Because this raptor, I wish I had a picture, but I don't. This is the closest one I have. The Indoraptor is very intelligent.
Super intelligent, yeah.
So he like plays like, well, we'll need to get in that. But
yeah,
he does.
You
some
still
things,
need to go watch it. I mean,
right? Yeah, we don't want to spoil everything, but he does some things that are kind of cool. He has high functioning intelligence. Blue is pretty cool too in this movie.
That's what I was referring to.
Blue is kind of a hero.
That's what I'm saying is they made a couple of the dinosaurs heroes of the movie.
Yeah.
Like the headbutting one. I mean, they would have never gotten out of there without that little dinosaur. And then when he's running around in that room where the auction was happening, and you just see people flying through the air.
That was funny.
That was funny. But Blue comes to the rescue at the end of the movie, and if it hadn't been for Blue coming to the rescue,
there would have been
dino
food.
They'd have been they'd been pooped out somewhere.
What'd you think of that mansion? Is that a real mansion? They were supposed to be in California somewhere.
I don't know. I wouldn't
looked
doubt
like
it.
some old school mansion. I know they filmed part of it in England, so I don't know whether it was actually
it probably was English mansion
because it was huge.
And I haven't heard of any big mansions in California like that because it was old.
I think they have them, but this one looked, like I said, it had kind of a British look to it.
I bet that's what it was.
Professor Xavier's mansion or something. It looked
that one I think is in England as well.
Yeah,
the one
because they have all kind of big estates.
Xavier's School for the Gifted.
Yeah, and did they use I think they used the castle from Downton Abbey in one of those X-Men movies.
Probably.
It's called what is it called? I can't remember the name.
But
I want to say Berkshire, but I know that's not it.
You were asking me if I had any issues, and for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and give you my ultimate critique of the movie. And this is how I felt that when they ended the movie, at the very end, the little girl who we find out is a clone of this guy's daughter, his dead daughter. And that's where he wanted to take the technology, was to bring his daughter back. And he did. They're trying to decide, there's a gas leak in the lab where all these dinosaurs are being held.
It's like hydrogen cyanide.
Hydrogen cyanide.
And the ventilation system is messed up and it's going to kill all the animals.
And at first, Claire lets all the animals out of the cages, and she's about to open the door outside, which is in California now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really thinking responsibly, you're going to release a bunch of dinosaurs in California. You're going to kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And so Claire has this clarity, no pun intended, but and she doesn't open the door.
Right.
And then they're all sad because you're watching all the dinosaurs gather in this space. This smoke is rolling in, and you're like, oh, that's the right thing to do, but it's really sad because, and then the door's open. And you're like, I bet the little girl did it. And sure enough, she's like, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I couldn't watch them die. So these dinosaurs take off into the wild, right?
Yep.
And in the process, they kill the rest of the bad guys that have gotten away to this point. And so you're thinking, the end of the movie where they're kind of like filling in the blanks of what happens and probably setting up the next one. All these dinosaurs are spreading throughout the land, right? The reality of what would happen in that situation is, as soon as the government became aware that a bunch of dinosaurs were running wild in the United States, is there would be a lot of F-16 fighter jets and tanks, and they'd be going out and blowing these dinosaurs all to pieces.
Well, maybe that's what they do in the next movie. They had that great shot of the T-Rex. I think it's the same T-Rex from the first movie breaking into a zoo, and he like roars at a lion. I thought I loved that.
That
shot.
was a really cool shot. That really was.
And they had the Monosaurus floating under a wave with surfers.
Is that what that was called? A Monosaurus?
Yeah. They had,
surfers on top of the
waves.
waves.
To eat some surfers. That was a scary shot, man, because that thing is huge.
Yeah. Well, it was a scary shot when he came up behind that little sub and opened its mouth, and then you just see a shot from the water, and then the light goes out, and you're like, whoops.
Yeah. Well, did you see the post-credit scene?
No, I should have stuck around.
There was a post-credit scene. It was very quick, but they showed. I know I'm getting this wrong. The pterodactyls or whatever.
Pterodactyls.
The ones
that
that fly.
Pterodactyl.
They you know the Eiffel Tower in Las Vegas, the fake Eiffel
fake
Tower.
Eiffel.
They showed. They have this nice overhead shot, like it was shot from your drone, and they show them landing on that Eiffel Tower, and then you hear screams, and then it cuts their face black.
Okay, so get ready for
it's gonna
Jurassic World 3, Vegas.
Right. Oh, one thing, Jeff Goldblum was in this.
Yeah.
And he really doesn't have a. I thought he was gonna have a starring role, but he really just has a cameo. He's testifying before Congress because they're trying to decide whether they're gonna save the animals, and he says, "I think we're gonna have to coexist with these animals." And they cut back to that scene at the end where he says, "This is now Jurassic World" or something. And then,
well, and he had said something in one of the previous ones a long time ago, like in either the first one or second one, because I had a question about, well, you know, there was a limited amount of dinosaurs that they brought back over from the island, and they just had one of each, so it wasn't like a male and a female.
No.
And from what I understand, dinosaurs are not asexual. You know, they have to breed. So I was like, well, they're just going to die out anyway because they're not going to be able to reproduce.
Yeah.
But Jeff Goldblum said in the very first one, nature finds a way. And that was pointed out to me when I was like, well, they're just going to die anyway. And he said,
well, in the first movie, they do find evidence that they have reproduced. They find eggs on the island. And I think the theory is that they used frog DNA, and some frogs actually procreate asexually.
yeah, they do. That's true.
Because they use frog DNA to fill in some of the gaps in the dinosaur DNA, they reproduce asexually and have children. But they didn't really touch on that with this.
If they made the point in the past and they've covered themselves in the storyline, you know.
So the next one is going to be pretty wild. And
it's going to be set in the
only
United States.
problem is Colin Trevorrow is coming back to direct, so I don't know.
Oh, he's going to direct again?
Yeah, he's going to direct the next one. So I don't know. And you know, he's the guy that got fired from. He was supposed to direct the next Star Wars, and he got fired by Kathleen Kennedy, who everyone hates, even though she always hires these white directors. She could hire. There are good female directors out there. And
by all means.
Despite being this feminist, like we covered it in the last episode, she always manages to hire these white male directors. But he got fired. She fired him, and
but she's also not afraid to fire him too.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Her strong female.
J.J. Abrams is coming back to direct the next Star Wars. But anyway, he got fired, but he's coming back to.
Boy, J.J., you got your hands full, buddy. You got your hands full. Good luck.
But that's about it. And
well, let's give it a rating.
I give it a 5.
I would too.
Confidently give it a 5.
I'd give it a 5.
This is a must-see movie. You want to see it in theater? I saw RPX. I saw it in 3D. Loved it.
Oh, I did not see it in 3D. I bet I would have liked it in 3D.
Yeah, it's really nice kind of movie you want to see in 3D.
Well, I saw it in 2D and I was still blown away by it. So, you know, you make your mind up. I'm going to give it a 5. He gives it a 5. And
go see this right now.
Go see Jurassic World. That is our stamp of approval. So thanks for being here, guys. And we will see you on our next episode.
Thanks for watching.